In this video, I'll show you how to create custom payment links for multiple products or invoices using Stripe, Airtable, and Make.com. Stick around. Hi, this is Greg from Business Automated, and on this channel, we help you save time and money with useful solutions to automate your business. If you have not already, consider subscribing. That helps us produce more useful videos for you. Very often we have a situation when, for example, a customer has multiple outstanding invoices and they would like to pay it at one time. And maybe your accounting software, like for example Xero that we are using over here, allows them to pay those invoices individually, but we also would like to have a way to pay, for example, for 5 invoices at a time and be able to send a link to the customer to show them like, okay, so this is your checkout link and these are the invoices that are included within this. So in this video, I'll show you how you can use Airtable and Make.com to basically create custom checkouts for any combination of invoices that you would like. So you can see that we have a table with customers over here. Here we have a table with invoices, and these are the statuses that are coming directly from Xero. So this is following the statuses in Xero accounting software. So authorized means that there was an invoice that was approved and is waiting for a payment. So you can see that, for example, for this customer, we would have 5 different invoices to be paid. So to do this, we have created a separate table, which allows us to do a following thing. So here we can select a customer. In the next step, we can select the invoices, and here we have filled out by our automation, which says payment link has been created or that payment link has been successfully paid. And here we have the date when this record was created. By the way, we are just using the date field that will default to the current date, which means we can always update it to something in the back or in the past. And here we have a roll-up of the sum of all the invoices, and here we have a space for the checkout link that we can share with the customers or automatically send to customers. And here we have one more field that we'll be using to get the ID of the checkout, and then the last element here is a formula link, which looks following. So if there is already existing payment link, we would basically show a payment link in this field. If there is no payment link, then we would execute Make.com webhook, to which we are passing the record ID of this specific link. And I will also show you here how I'm using Airtable interfaces to make the life a little bit easier, to make it a little bit nicer to operate with. So for example, here on this interface, I have a list of customers. I would go and find the customers that wanted to pay a couple of invoices at a time, or they told us, okay, we want to pay all the outstanding invoices now. You can see here that I'm having a field that lists all the invoices that we ever had with them. This could be paid or deleted invoices. And now that's the list of the outstanding invoices. So the next step here, we will add the payments. You can, by the way, you can see that once we click on it, this is a group that is not showing fields like you would have over here. So you can see that here we could add, for example, invoices. We could add invoices as field, as you would see, but we can also change this to be a view. And when we change this to be a view, then what you see would be something like this here at the bottom. And this part is additionally grouped by the field status so that we can see which invoices are pending for the payment. And in a similar way, we have another field over here that is called payments, and this will be the field that will allow us to add payments. Notice that I have enabled here add records inline, which allows us to have that additional button that will basically create those payments here. So I can actually start it over here. You can see that I have added another record over here. And what is important is that I only enabled inline editing. You can see that there is inline editing, but only in that specific field. So for example, the status field, I have specifically, when I go here to the status field, I have disabled editing of this field because by the default this would be editable, but here I have just removed that. And the same thing, I have also removed the ability to edit other fields, although this is the formula, so this would not be editable anyway. So once we have added this record here, you can see that now I can select the invoices that should be added to this specific payment. So I will select the invoice, which is 361. And by the way, if you are on a more advanced Airtable plan, you could add conditional filter to this lookup that would show you only the invoices that are relevant to your customer, so that you would only see invoices that are coming from this specific customer. So let's also add 371. All right, so you can see that we have added 3 different invoices, and then here we have a link to make.com, and I'll show you what is happening once we click on that specific link in make.com. So let's go over here and then let's press run once. Once I click on this link, I will be directly redirected to the payment page, and you will notice here that the link over here got changed to the Stripe payment link. So you can see over here, so this is what happened just now, and you can see that the API has changed the status to payment link created and added the checkout link as well as the checkout ID. This will be useful later to change the status once that checkout has been completed. So now we can see the payment link here, and let's see what happened here on the make.com scenario. So the first step is we are getting the record ID. The next element here is we are actually looking up the details of this specific payment inside of make.com. What we would get from here, we would get the details of the row together with the list of invoices. So the next step is we'll be iterating over the list of invoices, and then we would get details of each invoice individually over here. So this is where we are getting the invoice number, which we'll be using later over here, as well as the value of each of the invoices here. And now the next step, this is going to be looking a little bit complicated because this is the part of text that we'll be using in the next step, which is custom Stripe API call. Unfortunately, there is no default module in Make, so there are multiple modules that would allow you to create payment intents and customers and other operations. Unfortunately, to create that custom checkout link with multiple items, we have to use a custom code. And the custom code, like you can see, you'll be able to download this scenario from the description of the video, but basically it is an API endpoint that is called checkout/sessions, and this is us creating a checkout session over here. So the method that we are using is post, and here you can see there is a little bit of a gibberish over here that we are passing as the content of this request. So the first element is the mode, it is the payment. Then the next element, we are adding the encoded URLs for the success, so where to send the customer when there was a successful payment and where to send them when the payment has been canceled. That could be your website or your email or any other location you would like to send them. And then what is added here after the ampersand is basically the list of line items that are being listed over here. And those line items are being created by the text aggregator. So this scenario will work with one line item, but it will also work with multiple line items. And important element here is that for the row separator, which means multiple line items, we are using ampersand as a separator. So that means that if you have 3 different line items, you can see that those additional line item 0, and then after line item 0, you will have line item 1 added over here. By the way, I see that there is a mistake. This initial one here is unnecessary. But basically, you can see that every group here, this would be line item number 1, this would be line item number 2, and then this would be line item number 3. And as you will notice, for every line item, we are adding specific information in this format. So we're adding the currency, we are adding the name of this product, and we're adding the price. The price is the amount in cents. If you have, for example, $3,569.49, this has to be multiplied by 100 to give the amount in cents. And then the quantity, in all cases, it's 1. So you can see we're having this crazy formula over here when we are basically taking the bundle number. The bundle numbers in Make start at 1. And you can see that the number would be 1, 2, or 3. But here for the API, because this is more of an IT way of writing this number would actually start with 0. So the first line item would be numbered 0. So this is why we are basically deducting 1 from the bundle order position. And we're also putting this into the brackets. You can find the brackets here inside of the general functions. This informs Make that this is a mathematical operation. So this number should be deducted by 1, and this what ends up as the number of the array. And you can see that we do this for every line item mentioned here. So first, the currency probably will not change for you. Then the next name, this is the number of the invoice, could be any other name that you would like to do for the product. And then for the price data, you can see that I'm doing the amount multiplied by 100, which is again using the brackets. This is the way for Make to know that this is a mathematical operation and that should be ending here. Otherwise, if you don't put the brackets, sometimes it might consider this whole text behind as a number and you will just not get a calculation out of it. And then the quantity, in this case, this is 1 because we are doing invoices. If you would be having products with count, you could also add quantity over here. All right. And then basically this part is being glued here with ampersand to the end. And what we do, we save back this information to Airtable to update the payment link and to save the checkout ID. And then finally, we are responding to that request using status 307, which is a temporary redirect with location and the URL of that checkout link from over here. So this is what is causing us to be redirected over here. But then also we have the link over here that could be used for, let's say, sending this to the customer. We could also skip redirect altogether if we're just doing this for ourselves, and we could trigger email sending here at the end of this scenario. So we could now, instead of a response, we could send an email to the customer with the link to that specific checkout. All right, so this is the scenario over here, and I will show you what will happen when we do the test payment. And by the way, this is the scenario that would respond to the payment, and you will see that here I have added an event. This event, if you would be adding a new webhook, it would be reacting to checkout and checkout session completed. Note that there are some edge cases that not always the completed checkout session means paid invoice. So depending on the payment method, some of them might be asynchronous. So you need to just be in mind that checkout session complete might not always be a payment if you're using some of the bank payment types and so on. But for credit cards, mostly this will be one-to-one. So then saving would create a new webhook, and what will happen over here is once we turn this one on, we would get confirmation whenever this invoice is being paid. All right, so here I didn't see exactly what is the schema of this event that will arrive. So for the time being, I just put a mock value over here because I don't see the checkout ID at this stage. But anyway, we will just run it once and we will do a mock payment. So we will use a testing credit card, which is 4242. And upon success, I was just redirected back into Airtable. And here inside of this integration, you can see that we actually got the response back. And what we would be looking for is the checkout ID. So this would be exactly, so object ID would be test. So this actually, for this to be successful, it would have to be this ID. Then we can find actual event over here. And then if the value exists, we would update the next step. All right, so let's save this and let's try a different payment. I'll just select some random invoices here. Let's open this. And you can see that here we have the new checkout link and information payment link created. And now let's do the pay. And you can see that this event has been successfully executed. And now I got a confirmation here that this link has been successfully paid. All right, and the final note is that if you are using Stripe over here, so you might want to test it first with a Sandbox account. So you can create a Sandbox account inside of your Stripe account, and then you would have to go to API keys and create a restricted key. So if you create a restricted key, you can see that I have created this key over here. The permissions that you would need for that key is, you can see that balance. So this is a basic permission that Make requires, and then there are only two other write permissions that you would have. So we need a checkout permission, we need the write permission for the checkout, and we need write permission for the webhook endpoints. And these are the only 3 permissions that you need over here, and this will give you the limited list of permissions that you can use for your API key. And with that, you can basically add a new connection over here. And this is pretty much anything. That's pretty much anything you will need over here. That's it. That's everything for today. I hope this was useful for you guys. If so, please like and subscribe and let us know what kind of videos you would like to see in the future. Thank you and good luck automating your business.